She was untouchable. For months, this left-wing activist judge was the resistance golden ticket, the one name in a black robe that every activist lawyer in Boston was betting on to keep President Trump's agenda dead in the water. But something happened this week, something even her biggest fans in the legacy media didn't see coming and didn't want to see coming. Make sure to stick them to the very end of this video because we're about to see exactly why the phrase temporary protected status just got a whole lot more temporary, and why one Democrat in particular, one of the most repulsive members of Congress, is about to have the worst week of her career because of it. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, celebrating yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November of 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, we got some really exciting news here. When I sat down to write my latest book, Civcosm, God's Algorithms and the Rise of a Civilizational Cosmocracy, I wasn't trying to write another book about politics or religion or technology. I was trying to answer one recurring question for myself. What is actually happening beneath it all? Not the headlines, not the noise, the pattern underneath. And it took me the better part of 3 years to find that answer. And when I finished the last page, I realized something. I couldn't just publish it and move on. Some things you have to teach, not just write. So for the first time in years, I'm getting back in the classroom, live and virtual, to walk you through it myself, chapter by chapter, in real time. This isn't a course I'm running on the side. This is the biggest thing that I've done this year, apart from the Civcosm book itself. But I'm only doing this masterclass once. I've officially opened registrations and early bird pricing is open for limited time. Scan the QR code below to join my Civcosm masterclass. All right, let's dive right in here. What if I told you that an Obama-appointed federal judge, who Democrats and the media practically canonized as the last line of defense against President Trump, just did something nobody in the resistance ever saw coming? She folded. She looked at the law, she looked at the Supreme Court, and she basically told a room full of activist lawyers, I can't help you anymore. Well, it actually happened. U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs, the same judge Republican Congressman Andy Ogles had already threatened to impeach over this exact case, she just lifted, I kid you not, her own injunction and cleared the way for the Trump administration to terminate temporary protected status for nearly 1,100 Somali nationals. As it turns out, their temporary protected status is indeed actually temporary as a result of this activist judge just overturning her own activism. Now, if you don't know, this Obama-appointed federal judge, Judge Burroughs, has been a thorn in President Trump's side for months. She originally blocked this termination of TPS back in March. She blocked it again in July after plaintiffs tried to dress it up with, brand new constitutional claims. This was the judge who just 2 weeks before this ruling scolded the Trump administration for what she called, quote, shameful cruelty. That's right, shameful cruelty for enforcing the temporary protected status. I know we live in a time when liberals are confused over what is a woman, like they are in the women's, right, WNBA. But I didn't realize that there was an equal amount of confusion over the meaning of the word temporary. But apparently there was. That is, until now. This same Obama-appointed activist judge is now actually the one signing off on the mass deportations. Pigs really do fly. If you're not familiar with the whole stories, back in January, the Trump administration announced the end of the nation of Somalia's TPS designation, arguing that conditions in the country had improved enough that the humanitarian protection was no longer justified. Of course, liberal advocacy groups sued immediately because they don't know the meaning of the word temporary any more than they know the meaning of the word woman. For Democrats, the T in TPS stands for Trojan horse. Make that one word, right? Trojan horse. It's yet another way of permanently, not temporarily, but permanently changing the demographics in our nation to their political favor. So the Trump administration was immediately sued by these far-left groups, and a far-left judge, Judge Burroughs, and an Obama appointee sitting in Boston said, you got it. We're all in this together. We're the resistance. We're the activists disguised as lawyers and jurists. You got it. Temporary is not temporary. But then something happened back in June. The U.S. Supreme Court dropped a bombshell in a case called Mullen versus Doe. The court ruled that the TPS statute, the actual law Congress passed back in 1990, bars judicial review of basically any non-constitutional challenge to a TPS termination decision. So basically, the court found that Congress wrote into the law itself that courts don't get to second guess the Secretary of Homeland Security's calls on this. There is no judicial review over whatever the executive branch determines in this case in terms of TPS. The ruling cleared the way then for the administration to end TPS for Haiti and Syria too. And so as of just days ago, on August 14th, the wheels came off this activist judge's injunctions. Burroughs herself openly acknowledged that under the law as the Supreme Court now reads it, she has no basis to block President Trump's deportation. It turns out it's over 2,000 Somalis. And so she had no choice but to overturn her own judicial activism. Again, reality is stranger than fiction. And in light of that decision, there's one Somali that conservatives want deported more than any other. And it does look as if things are going from bad to worse for this ultra-repulsive Democrat. Wait until you see this. Have you ever wondered why your energy starts to change as you get older? A big part of it comes down to what's happening inside your cells. Your body's made up of more than 30 trillion of them, and every single one needs energy to repair itself, communicate properly, and keep your body working the way it should. Inside those cells are tiny structures called mitochondria. You can think of them as the engines that power your body. They take the food you eat, the oxygen you breathe, and they turn it into the energy you need to think, move, recover, and stay healthy. But as we age, those engines begin to slow down. That can affect everything from your energy and your focus to your physical performance and how quickly your body recovers. That's where NMN comes in. NMN is a naturally occurring compound that helps replenish NAD+, something your cells rely on to produce energy, repair everyday damage, and support healthy aging. As NAD+ levels decline, your cells have a harder time doing their jobs efficiently. Research shows that NMN may help support healthier NAD+ levels, energy metabolism, physical activity, insulin sensitivity, mitochondrial function, and age-related gene expression. That's why Brightcore created NMN3. Rather than taking NAD+ itself, supplementing with NMN gives your body the raw material it needs to naturally produce more NAD+, making it a more effective way to replenish declining levels. With consistent daily use, NMN3 helps support better energy, more restful sleep, stronger physical performance, healthy immune function, and an improved overall sense of well-being. NMN3 is all natural, non-GMO, proudly made right here in the USA. So if you're ready to support your cellular energy and start feeling more like yourself again, now's the time to try NM3. Today you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below. Just use code TURLEY for 25% off your entire order, or for an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order plus free shipping. Give them a call right now at 888-597-0233. That's 888-597-0233.
You know, you heard what Tom Homan said just there a couple of minutes ago. at the Turning Point event about how they're investigating her, and we also heard the news yesterday that the DOJ is increasing denaturalization efforts. So I mean, she might be in hot water here. I'm just saying that much. And to Todd Blanche, I'll say this to you straight. If you denaturalize and deport Ilhan Omar, you will be a national hero, and I will come on your show next time, Kaylee, wearing Todd Blanche's face emblazoned on my shirt.
That's the one and only Nick Sorter commenting on Attorney General Todd Blanche's crackdown on naturalized citizens who lied their way to citizenship, directing the DOJ Civil Division to prioritize denaturalization of anyone who obtained citizenship through fraud. The DOJ has filed more than 120 civil denaturalization complaints since January of 2025, which is the largest coordinated denaturalization effort in the department's history. Historically, denaturalization was reserved really more for these extreme cases. So like finding out somebody's a war criminal or human rights abusers or national security threats, things like that. But now AG Blanche's directive expands that priority list to include marriage fraud, identity fraud, and other concealed disqualifying conduct during naturalization. And so, of course, that directive has reignited long simmering questions about Representative Ilhan Omar, who's faced years of allegations that she married her brother to help him gain immigration status. And there is a federal investigation into Omar as we speak. But all of this points in the end to the even larger issue. And that is the overall deportation numbers, which are simply historically unprecedented. President Trump promised the largest deportation operation in American history, and he has delivered on that promise in spades. ICE logged in roughly 356,000 removals this year alone through mid-July, averaging over 1,200 people a day, with researchers projecting the agency is on pace for around 500,000 forced deportations by year's end. That's up from last year's numbers, which were already a sharp increase from anything we have seen prior. Remember, past administrations counted those stopped at the border and then forced to go back as deportations. That's how Obama's deportation numbers got so high. So they basically padded their numbers with border crossing stoppage and then being forced back. Whereas, as you know, you've seen with your own eyes, President Trump, particularly, for example, in Minneapolis, he's engaged in real active deportations, finding, arresting, deporting nearly now over 1 million illegal migrants all over the country, with another 2 million voluntarily leaving. And rulings like the Somalia TPS case add fuel to that number by clearing the same legal path for other pending TPS cases: Ethiopia, South Sudan, El Salvador, Ukraine, Haiti, all facing the identical legal inevitability. So, bottom line, the legal roadblock is gone, ironically at the hands of the very judge that provided that roadblock in the first place. Somalia's TPS ended officially on August 14th. The Supreme Court's June ruling built the blueprint every other TPS case in the pipeline will now follow, while this administration quietly closes in on the biggest deportation numbers in American history, and perhaps, just perhaps, the most repulsive member of Congress will find that her turn has come at last. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button for breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. Love you guys. God bless.